Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss the poem Telephone Conversation by Wole Soyinka. The poem which is part of the syllabus of BA third year English Literature paper first. Wole Soyinka has been one of the leading figures in Nigerian theatre and also a poet and political activist. He played an active role in Nigeria's political history and its struggle for independence from Britain. He is the first African to have received the Nobel Prize for Literature in the year 1986. Wole Soyinka's poetry has often been described as a powerful and serious agent to social change. His themes of writings are primarily concerned with African politics and the promotion of human rights. Out of Soyinka's large body of work, the present poem Telephone Conversation is one of his most well-known and most often anthologized poems. The poem Telephone Conversation is a satire on racism and points out the conflict within the protagonist. The issue of racism is something that lurks within the minds of so many people around the world, is in fact the target of the satire in this poem. It is a bitter comment on racism and racist prejudices. The poem highlights the discriminating attitudes that some people have about others, particularly judging someone without knowing him or her personally, but by just recognizing the color of someone's skin. The fact that a man is judged on the basis of his color, even in the 20th century, is rather alarming. And it projects a society where individuality is at stake. It's quite shocking to know. The title of the poem, Telephone Conversation, clearly reveals that two people are talking on the phone, and the entire theme of racial discrimination is carried out through this conversation only. It's a telephone conversation between a white landlady and an African man, with the African man looking for a place to get on rent. The poem is in the first person narrative. The initial lines of the poem make the readers aware of the reason behind the African man's arrival at the phone booth and to make him call a white landlady. We learn about the situation, the setting of this poem. When the poem begins, it is informed that the speaker is looking for the rented flat, and the price which have been mentioned in the advertisement he feels is quite reasonable, and the location is, as said in the advertisement, is indifferent to race and color of any prospective tenant. So the speaker, the room seeker, the speaker feels very positive and excited because all these circumstances suit him very well. He makes a telephone call to the white landlady, informing the lady that all the essentials are agreeable to him. The man makes up his mind to finalize the deal. That's why he is making this call. So he wishes to finalize the deal of getting that premises on rent. During the course of the dialogue, the moment comes, which is the turning point of the poem, turning point also of this conversation between these two people. The point comes when the speaker mentions that he is black. Quite opposed to his expectations, the landlady remains silent as soon as she comes to know the ethnicity, the identity of that man, that he is an African, a black man. In response to the confession of the speaker that he is a black man, on the other side of the telephone there is nothing but silence. The African man very well notices this silence, and he takes it to be a kind of impolite gesture of refusal, that the lady is not interested to give her premises on rent to some man who is black. The black African man is reduced to shame seeing this or feeling this silence. The silence of the lady actually reflects the indifference and a reservation towards the blacks. However, the silence is soon broken as the landlady starts to speak again. And she asks the narrator to explain exactly how dark he is. The lady has broken her silence and has now given the speaker the option to define how dark, means exactly how dark he is. Like a chocolate, dark chocolate or a light chocolate. At first the black man speculates that he might have misheard the question, but when the landlady repeats the same, he understands that it is something very important for the woman, the landlady, to know this aspect before she allows him to rent her house. At that moment, the speaker feels disgusting with the question and fancies himself to be like a product, like a machine, like something which is evaluated. He feels himself being reduced to some button on a phone. Button A, button B, dark chocolate or light chocolate. This turns to be entirely devastating for that man. In this conversation up till this point, the landlady has been pleasant until she learns that the speaker is African. But after knowing that the man is black, an African, her attitude sounds quite different now. The reaction of the speaker is quite noteworthy here. He smells stench, a strong and very unpleasant smell around him, and sees red color all around him. Red booth, red pillar box, red double-tiered omnibus squelching tor and all. It has some symbolic significance because the imagery drawn here is highlighting the anger of the speaker. The black man holds on to chords of formality during the conversation, the entire conversation, but he breaks down his way of formality as soon as he learns the landlady's insensitivity to the man's character and her interest in the ethnicity of someone before she gives her house to rent. Here onwards, he takes a little bit shift to his way of speaking. He goes on to answer that his skin color can be pictured as West African sepia. The African man now answers mockingly, saying that he is black, but he is not that black for anyone to be put to shame. He also says that the soles of his feet and the palms are blonde, but surface of his rear are black as a result of too much friction. Of course, he's speaking ironically, humorously, mockingly. The speaker here very cleverly mocks the landlady's ignorance and prejudice, demonstrating that characterizing people by their skin color actually diminishes their humanity. He now starts to understand that the landlady will never be convinced with his black complexion, and he also senses that she might slam down the receiver anytime. And at such a crucial juncture, satirically he makes a desperate and of course mocking attempt, pleading her to come personally and take a good look at him. Means she should personally visit the black man and see how black he is. In response, finally the landlady slams down the receiver of the phone and the conversation ends. This incident in the form of telephone conversation reflects the discrimination suffered by the blacks. In words, the landlady has not said anything, nor has she denied his request. She just hangs up the phone, which is of course her choice. She chooses not to listen to him any longer, and the conversation ends. And this is the scenario. All the problems between the black and the whites on the basis of racial discrimination are because of this shortage of conversation. So here the speaker uses his sharp wit and humor to make the readers understand the absurdity of racism. So this is all about this poem, Telephone Conversation by Wole Soyinka. Thank you.